Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Border Town Strange. We're super excited tonight because we have with us the one, the only Enzo Cyrille.
Oh, that guy?
Ah! Yeah, there you go. You got it? Oh, I thought you were going to hit the thingy. Okay,
Yeah.
anyway.
There we go.
Yay!
We're all a little punchy.
We are a little punchy. Jess has been painting upside down all day.
Yes.
And I'm just back from Kentucky, so we are not quite all here, but we have the wonderful Enzo here, and he is going to get to present his presentation that he did at the last Paracon and attempted to do at the Paracon prior. But we want to make sure that all our friends that could only be there by live stream are able to actually hear his presentation. So we're super excited to have him here to do that tonight. So Jess, do you want to do a little bit of housekeeping?
Yep, just the usual. If you're hanging out on YouTube or if you're hanging out on Facebook and watching the lives right now, give us a quick thumbs up, hit that bell, subscribe, like and share, and all that jazz. We appreciate it so much. And if you're listening right now, you can find us on all of your favorite podcast providers. And if you can't find us, let us know so that we can rectify that situation. What else do we got? Oh, we have so many new followers right now, especially on Facebook. We appreciate you so much. I think we're like 30 people away from hitting 1,000.
Sweet. Wow. That's so awesome.
Yeah. Yay. So like tell your friends and have them like us because we would love to hit that 1,000. I can't wait to like make that cool post. Anywho's, we have quite a bit coming up here. We're coming into the fall spooky season here. Pretty soon we're going to release what our Halloween topic is going to be. Enzo and I are going to be heading to Phenomicon in Vernal here. So we, neither of us will be on the next episode, but I think Pam and Mark are going to run something. I'm not sure what it is going to be.
We're not sure what it's going to be either yet, but we'll come up with something super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but the show after that, we're going to come back and talk all about it. We're going to try to make sure we do lots of videos and stuff like that so we can take you to Phenomicon and Skinwalker Ranch right along with us. So should be fantastic. I'm so excited. If I wasn't so tired right now, I'd really like to be hopping. But yeah. So before
Got to drive it all the way. Jeez.
Hi, Grumpy. So before we get Enzo started, we're going to do Word of the Week. We're going to keep it a semi-regular here. So if you want to pull that up, Pam. It was my turn. Sure. And I thought it would be a good idea to, since Enzo is going to be talking about the history of UFO photos and how to take them appropriately, I thought it would be cool to start off what people believe is the very first one that we've found so far. So the Mount Washington photo, New Hampshire, it's believed to be the first UFO caught on a photograph, a vintage stereoscopic card sold on eBay in 2002, featuring a dark, elongated mark that resembles a cigar-shaped flying object. The photo, which was taken in 1870, was analyzed by experts who agreed that it was indeed an original photograph of a UFO, was dated correctly, and was not a result of any manipulation. It was originally sold in 2002 on eBay to Samuel M. Sherman, the president of Independent International Pictures, for $385. Now, I will say this. No one can say for certain that this is absolutely a UFO. It very could have well been an artifact that got caught up in the process when they were getting it developed. So I would never say it is definitely one. However, it
looks interesting.
It looks very interesting. Now, if you don't know what a stereoscopic photo is, you can see it looks kind of weird. Why is it doubled up and all curved? Enzo's seeing it in 3D. So way back when, this was how they did 3D. They had a pair of viewers, and the little card would sit at the end of the viewer, and it wouldn't be doubled anymore. You would be seeing it as one. So it would kind of create the fact that it was almost right in front of you. That's what stereoscopic cards were. I have tons of them in here, but I didn't think to pull them out before we did this. But I thought this was a good one to talk about.
And
so
you
far,
could
they
even,
think it's the oldest.
For arguments purposes, because this is 1870, right?
Mm-hmm.
When this was taken. Okay, UFO or airship?
Yeah. It would have been called an airship.
An airship at the time, for sure.
Yeah. Because we didn't get the term UFO until after the famous... I can't even think right now. Yeah.
This would have been about 20 years before the big airship flap. So.
Yes, it would have been. It's interesting.
Roswell. Freaking
there we go. You got it.
Oh, yeah. You were going after that. Okay.
I just to let everybody know, I have been painting. I painted for 6 hours straight today with no breaks. And it was a ceiling. I'm a little punch drunk, so it should be a fun night.
It will be. We're really glad that Enzo is doing this for more than one reason. The fact that it's a fantastic presentation is first and foremost. Secondly, we're both a little loopy, so
I'll be doing the heavy lifting for the show, and that's fun.
Yay! Well, we appreciate it.
This is that is a pretty cool picture, and of course that would be the predecessor of the old ViewMaster, which we probably all had as kids. You know, that little round little disc you would put in there, and you'd watch different things. Yeah,
they were pretty cool. Okay, well, do we have any more housekeeping, or was that it? Are we good?
We are good to go.
Okay, then I'm going to do Enzo's introduction. So Enzo Cyrille is a retired U.S. Air Force veteran with a background in aircraft maintenance and aviation safety. A lifelong skywatcher and amateur astronomer, his fascination with the unknown began at age 9 after witnessing a UFO in his home state of Kentucky. That experience sparked decades of exploration, combining military precision with the passion for the paranormal. Today, he investigates unexplained phenomena with Southeast Kansas border town Paranormal, bringing both technical expertise and field insight to the team. In addition to his investigative work, Enzo is a well-known personality in the paranormal podcasting world. He's a frequent guest on shows like Spaced Out Radio, The Paranormal Chop Shop, Doof Doof Paranormal, What If Tomorrow on the Fringe, and the Bordertown Strange podcast, where he shares stories, theories, and practical advice on UFO sightings and fringe topics. In 2024, he joined Bordertown team as their resident expert in UFOs, alien encounters, military history, and astronomy. So, once again, we want to welcome Enzo to the show. Yay!
Yay!
High
You get the symbol monkey.
Thank you. Thank you. This is not the other creepy one with the metal symbols on every horror movie.
Yeah. I'm excited because I have been in the same building twice when this presentation was going on, but I've never gotten to see it because I'm always like, shh, going. So now I can see it.
Beer, beer, beer. Yeah. Use our own UFO.
I get to watch it. I got to watch it last year or this year, and it was excellent. So I guess I've watched it both years. I only remember this year, though.
and that was after taking part in both of them, too.
Yeah.
I never heard of it. But this presentation, since we're doing it here, we're amongst friends. This is kind of the third run of it. We can take our time a little bit and talk through it. So if you have questions along the way, go ahead and throw them in there, and Pam will throw them up, and we can tackle them as they go because we have plenty of time. Because this is geared for like a 45-minute thing, so we got plenty of time to get there.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and jump in. The topic is basically how to use your cell phone to try and take a picture of a UFO, because there are individual settings on your phones that you can alter yourself, go into manual mode, and have a much better chance of capturing something, so that when you try and show it to somebody later, it's not a fuzzy blob, or it's not in the frame, or it's just too dark, or whatever it is. We're going to fix that. We're going to talk it through. But first, let's go ahead and jump in with a little UFO photography history. Now, while this isn't a photograph, I do feel it's worth mentioning. This is what's known, if you want to Google this after the show or even during the show and listen to me, this is known as the Nuremberg woodcut UFO. If you put Nuremberg woodcut UFO in Google, this will pop right up. Now, what this is back in 1561, this would have been like the predecessor of the newspaper. Around the city at various locations where people would gather, little public square areas and markets and things like that, they'd have what was basically like a bulletin board where they would hang up these hand-drawn, pictures up there with basically the story of whatever it was underneath, much like a newspaper article. And some of the more popular ones, they would actually print them out because as it became more popular as a newspaper type of thing, they set up different bulletin boards around town where people passing through or whatever, they'd get caught up in what's going on. And this particular one is like fully colored and stuff like that, where they would actually, basically they would take a chunk of wood and carve in relief on it. And just like they would put it in ink, like an ink blotter, and stamp it onto paper, and they could do up, dozens or more at a time. And then they would just handwrite whatever the story was. Or if it was something like this, where it was a big event, they would actually hand color in all the little colors that you see here. Now, what this is a picture of is something that they described in great detail that happened on the morning of April 14th, 1561 in the skies over Nuremberg, Germany. Now, when you Google this on your own, because it's honestly, I'd love to have a shirt with this on it. But if you Google this yourself, the lower part, which is cut off in this for the photograph, is the actual translation of what the actual article was, which is in ancient Latin. So I'm going to, Germanic Latin. So I'm going to guess not everybody's up on that, but I do have a translation. I'll read the first part on it. And this is describing the scene. In the morning of April 14th, 1561, at daybreak, a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun. And then this was seen in Nuremberg, in the city, before the gates and in the country, by many men and women. At first there appeared in the middle of the sun 2 blood-red semicircular arcs, just like the moon in its last quarter. And in the sun, above and below, and on both sides, the color was blood. There stood a round ball of partly dull, partly black ferrous color. Ferrous meaning iron, so it was kind of a blood red, dark red. Likewise, there stood on both sides, and as a torus about the sun, such blood red ones and other balls in large number, about 3 in a line and 4 in a square, also some that were alone. In between these globes, there were visible a few blood red crosses, between which there were blood red strips, becoming thicker to the rear and in front of a malleable like rods of reed grass. So they were kind of swaying back and forth, which were intermingled among them 2 larger rods, one on the right and one on the left. And within the small and big rods, there were 3, also 4 and more globes. These all started to fight amongst themselves, so that the globes, which were the first in the sun, flew out to the ones standing on both sides. Thereafter, the globes standing outside the sun in the small and large rods flew into the sun. Besides, the globes flew back and forth amongst themselves and fought vehemently with each other for over an hour. And when the conflict in and again out of the sun was most intense, they became fatigued to such an extent that they all, as said above, fell from the sun down upon the earth as if they were all burned, and they then wasted away on the earth with immense smoke. After all this, there was something like a black spear, very long and thick, sighted. The shaft pointed to the east, the point pointed to the west. Whatever such signs mean, God alone knows. And it goes on about other things, about their discussions of what they think this could be, a lot of religious overtones, a lot of, we really don't know what this is. But as you can see in the picture, basically, these people witnessed like the end of the original Star Wars movie where they're attacking the Death Star going on in the skies over Nuremberg. And they've even included in the lower right hand, you can see where there's smoke billowing up where one of these things has crashed into the ground and there's people down there in the middle pointing and staring and screaming. It's kind of amazing. Now, other than this story, there's no actual evidence. It's not like there was a crash retrieval squad that immediately went out there and scooped it up in 1561. But I kind of view this as kind of like a first visual type reference for a mass sighting like this in there.
It's pretty cool.
But as far as photography goes, we'll roll into basically World War II. Is where a lot of the actual photography here. We see some of the famous Foo Fighters that were reported as unexplained, transparent, metallic, and shiny balls, which began in large numbers in June of 1944, around the same time the Allies invaded France and that Germany had started launching its V-1 rockets aimed at London. Thus ushered in the era of unmanned missiles and things flying in the air that you're not used to seeing. But the reports of these spheres started intensifying all the way up into like November of 1944, or excuse me, where, past that, where pilots and crews were reported that these strange spheres, glowing spheres, were flying in formation with them as they flew. And sometimes they would like actually circle around the craft, from wingtip to wingtip, and even like swirl, literally flying circles around them as they flew around. And of course, from the Allied side, they're like, this must be, we've seen these crazy, V2 rockets that their scientists have developed. This must be another, wonder weapon that they've developed. So they started shooting, and all of the reports of them shooting at these spheres floating around their planes, basically unaffected. They just ignored them. There was never any repercussions. It wasn't like they shot back or that they scurried away. No, they would shoot straight at them, convinced that they're hitting these things, and bullets did nothing. So the war goes on for a bit, and then after the war, once the two sides started getting together and comparing some notes, who won and who lost, who gets what, who keeps this, who's given up that, these things came up, these Foo Fighters, and like, hey, during all these missions, we saw like these spheres flying around. What were those things? And the Germans, the first thing they said was like, we thought they were yours. They had been seeing them too. There were some reports in the Pacific theater with Japan and stuff like that, but not near as many as that were out over Europe. And so the question came up, well, wait, if it wasn't yours, it wasn't ours, who are they? Where did they come from? What's going on? So lots of those questions started really getting spun up by, these are all pilots and aircrew members during World War II. These are serious people. They had a serious job to do. They're not going to just start making up crazy stories about strange lights in the air. They had to report everything back then because you never knew when it was going to be some new super weapon that might come into play. So there were a lot of reporting on that. So these photographs, while not great, there you can certainly see that there's something there. We'll roll into February 25th, 1942. This is the famous Battle of Los Angeles over Los Angeles, California. Not too long after Pearl Harbor had occurred, the whole west coast of the United States and Canada were on high alert, expecting some kind of sneak attack at any moment, kind of a thing. And to be fair, in the history book, Japan did launch some high altitude balloons with baseball bomb, incendiary bombs on it. The idea being that it would float all the way across the Pacific and drop on forests and farmers' fields and things like that, and catch all the crops on fire, and those dirty Americans wouldn't be able to feed themselves anymore and stuff like that. The truth is, most of those just went down in the they got beat up by storms and various things and blown way off course. There was one incident, which I want to say was in Oregon or Washington State, where one of these things had crashed. It didn't ignite, but when it crashed, and there was like a kind of a floppy, they thought somebody saw it, a civilian saw it, and they thought it was like a parachute or something. And when they went over there, it went off when they were kind of poking at it with a stick, and that person got injured. But that's it as far as strange things. But you never knew, because again, you never knew what kind of secret technology has been developed and things like that. We were certainly caught with our pants down with Pearl Harbor and all that, and that was not going to happen again. Well, on the night of February 25th, they started getting reports of this large glowing object starting in the north and working its way to the south down towards where Los Angeles was. And they had trained spotters out there that were specifically looking for aircraft. That's their job. And they had, as you can see, searchlights and anti-aircraft guns and the whole thing. And they spotted this object and they were tracking it. And it finally got to the point, it was mostly kind of over the ocean, but as it was getting closer to LA, it started kind of creeping closer to land, basically getting in range of their guns. And they were like, shoot it down. And they started lighting up the sky. In this particular picture, you'll see here the flashing, the little dots all around. That's anti-aircraft fire. And in the center of all of those searchlight beams is the object. And basically, all these anti-aircraft weapons are basically like grenades. It's a shell that goes up and it puts off a lot of basically like shotgun pellets. So it just needs to get near an aircraft to shred, the wings or the fuselage or any of that, where it'll shred the plane. They're not aiming. They don't have to be directly aimed at it. It's got an area of effect. These anti-aircraft weapons. So they're hitting it directly, and it's completely ineffective. It just sits there, and it slowly floats back up to the north for a ways, and then starts drifting out more to the ocean. And it was complete pandemonium on the ground. And there were some lives lost on the ground, mostly from falling debris from the anti-aircraft shells going off directly over the city, things like that. And, people that had like heart attacks and people that died falling down, breaking legs and stuff, falling down the stairs, trying to respond quickly, things like that. But no direct weapons fire involved on the ground there. But someone from the Los Angeles Times was out there when when the whole place was going crazy, and snapped this picture where we can look at it today. Can't really make out exactly what it looks like, but there's certainly something in those searchlight beams, and hundreds and hundreds of trained spotters certainly saw it and were focusing their fire and lights on it. So there was something certainly there in the sky.
That's the amazing part. That's the amazing part, was all the witnesses.
And there has to be something there. Like, nobody ever brings this up. And when I was little, when I first saw this, I was amazed at it because I knew that there was something there, because the searchlights stop at it. If there was nothing there, the searchlights would continue on through the sky.
That's a good point.
They stop.
It would just be like looking at, there is an effect of when lights convene on one spot, it's kind of lighting up that chunk of air, between there. To be honest, that's how holograms work. Is it's a bunch of intersecting lasers to form an image. You can ask Pam when she saw R2D2's hologram projector there in Hopkinsville. That was amazing.
That's so cool.
But obviously, these are giant searchlights. This is not a hologram. This is 1942. But it's even with that, there would still be people that were, much closer than like where this picture was taken. Some of those lights are almost pointed straight up in the air. So there's people almost directly underneath of this thing, which is why a bunch of people got hurt. That we're seeing there's something there. So anyway, roll on here.
It's super cool though. We should do a show on that sometime.
Battle of Los Angeles. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah,
here we've got another cigar shape or cylinder shaped object here. This cylindrical looking UFO was photographed over New York City, March 20th, 1950. The photographer that took this picture, his name was originally redacted from the Project Blue Book files when they were released originally, which is normal, because you don't want, he was an eyewitness and he took the picture, so you don't want people hassling him. I get it. But as time went on, one of the files in the Project Grudge data talked about, this same object and included the name. As it turns out, the photographer was very famous. His name was Irving Underhill, and he's like one of New York City's most prestigious photographers at the time, where a lot of his photos are like in the Library of Congress. A lot of, basically, if there was a famous photo in the New York City area in the 50s, he took it. So the guy knew his way around a camera. He knew if something would be this, as was described by him in some of these reports, was basically over Manhattan, high in the sky. So he's kind of pointing it straight up. You can see stars in the background there when he was taking the picture. And the original photo was analyzed by the United States Air Force, and they poo-pooed it away, saying that, oh no, this is a time lapse of the moon, where, you take as the moon's moving along, you left the shutter open, and it's got all of this, kind of segmented section of a crescent moon going through there, which could sort of make sense, except those stars that are also in the background would also be moving and would also be shaded in the same way. And also, and this guy was a super famous photographer. He's not going to fake a photo. That'd be the end of his career.
Yeah, absolutely, it would be.
But what's the other thing that's interesting about these cylindrical shaped UFOs that have always been reported over the years is, according to UFO lore, are usually measured by the number of football fields long they are. They're usually very, very large. So I'd love to know some super specifics about it, how big did it appear to you on the ground, and how were you zoomed in a lot? All these questions I'd love to ask Mr. Underhill from this. But again, very reliable source, someone that knows how to photograph things day or night in all directions, and this is what this person saw.
Yeah, very cool.
Another famous one. This is the famous McMinnville UFO. May 11th, 1950, Evelyn Trent was on her farm in Dayton, Oregon, about an hour southwest of Portland, when she spotted an object she later described as resembling, quote, a good-sized parachute canopy without the strings, only silver bright mixed with bronze. She saw it, darted inside, and caught her husband, Paul, and a camera. Paul took 2 black and white photos of what he called, quote, a round, shiny, wingless object before it noiselessly zipped away into the mist, because it's heavy, fog there for that day. So that's why it's all kind of like misty, and surprised they got anything at all, to be honest, in the picture. But the images would go unseen until Paul finished the roll of film and had them developed, because film was expensive. You need to take the rest of those 4 or 5 pictures on the roll before you, even if it's a interplanetary spaceship. I need some kid photos or something on there for the birthday next week. So you need to save those film. But the images were published by the McMinnville Telephone Register and the Oregonian that June. And word traveled fast. National news outlets ran stories on the couple's claims, and a U.S. Air Force investigator visited the farm. 17 years after the sighting, military commissioned research led by nuclear physicist Edward Condon originally concluded that it couldn't be easily debunked like many others. The report, which analyzed the original negatives, stated that, quote, all factors investigated, this appears to be consistent with the assertion that an extraordinary flying object, silvery metallic disc, tens of meters in diameter, and evidently artificial, flew within sight of 2 credible witnesses, end quote. So, analysis, pictures were real, negatives were real. 2 people that were of sound mind as witnesses saw something weird, took a couple of pictures. Then came the debunkers. Wow, you see those lines? You can see the wires. It's right there. Those are telephone lines. People just went bananas. And people still today kind of argue back and forth. Is it real? Is it fake? It's certainly, it was a big sighting by a lot of people, and a lot of people argue that today. And they also have an annual UFO festival, second only to Roswell's big UFO festival that they have every year. So it's one of those interesting things that just happen to be right place, right time, and all that. So we all have one of these. What's your excuse? We'll get into that. The famous Calvine UFO, taken near Calvine Village in Scotland, August 4th, 1990. 2 young men were hiking near Calvine, Scotland, and witnessed a mysterious diamond-shaped object hovering silently in the sky. A few minutes later, a single Harrier fighter jet approached the craft, circled it several times. One of the hikers was able to take about 5 photographs of the object and the aircraft. The object then quickly flew straight up into the clouds without making a sound. The 2 men told their friends and showed them their photos. A local newspaper caught wind of the story, and they were given 5 of the photographs after conducting an interview a few days after the story ran. And they only ran 1 picture in the paper because they picked the best of the 5, which is basically this picture. A few days after the story ran, the newspaper was contacted by the Ministry of Defense and asked to turn over their photos for analysis. The Ministry of Defense then contacted the hikers and took their photos and negatives for analysis. And that was the last time the photos and the negatives were ever seen. Yeah, there you go, 2 hours away. But then, and that was kind of like the end of the story. Just basically the only evidence that was available was what was printed in the newspaper, which when you take a close look at newspaper photos aren't that great. But then in 2022, the original reporter that ran the story, that interviewed the 2 guys and took picked the 1 picture for the article, made a public statement that they still had that original photo in an envelope in the desk. And basically, he was quoted as, "I've been waiting for over 30 years for someone to come and pick this thing up." So we now have this photograph that we can analyze a little closer and see some more details versus the newspaper version. So, the Calvine photo goes in for a lot of people, because there's a little wider view than this particular part of the picture, where there's kind of like a lake in the bottom. You can sort of see there's the top of fence line right there, all of that. And people start just making up crazy stuff. Oh, well, that's not real. It's like a reflection of an island in the lake, and that's what you're seeing. It's actually the top part is the island, and the bottom part is the reflection, which that's not how a reflection would look like that. But it's like, well, what about the plane? Is it in the water too? It's like, oh, that's just a boat on the water, like a sailboat or something. People just really go out of their way. It's like, okay, but why is the lake up in the sky above that 3-wire fence at the very bottom? Oh, no. It's people really, really get twisted up about this thing, just doing backflips trying to debunk it. And still pretty wild stuff. There's a lot of theories about, was this a test aircraft? And, that's why, the Harrier just came out in orbit and then it split. There was no chase or anything like that. There's a lot as far as this story goes. There's actually, when you really get into like the two hikers, because they were working the kitchen of a local pub, where they kind of had a Men in Black kind of a situation of, hey, you need to figure that, forget any about this stuff, you dumb kids, that kind of thing. Interaction. So there's a lot to the whole full-blown story, but as far as the photograph, kind of genuine in mine.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites, solely because it's one of the few that you can find that shows the plane in it. So many stories come along with and then this military aircraft buzzed in right afterwards, and very rarely do you get to see them like in the same shot.
Yeah, and that gives perspective too. It's like, that thing's big.
Yeah. I had experience where I saw a UFO and then I saw a military plane right afterwards. So it just kind of, it's probably why I like it so much. It's kind of included in the shot.
Ian said British Aerospace used to have 2 Harriers for tracking some of their designs.
Like a chase plane? Yeah. Harriers are pretty amazing jet, because they're like one of the first. I don't know if they're necessarily the first, but the first useful VTOL aircraft were a vertical takeoff and landing, because it can just be sitting on the ground and take straight off into the air, go straight up, kind of thing. Oh, and land the same way, so it can take off and land like a helicopter. And it has like vectored engine nozzles and stuff like that, which allow to do that, which turns jet fuel into noise. They're extremely loud when they're flying around, but still super cool jet, even today. All right, Pam, could you, I'm going to just let this roll. If you could talk to us about this particular thing.
Sure thing. So I have some friends that they live a little bit south of Tyro, Kansas, which isn't too far from us. And the husband, he usually leaves for work about 4:30 in the morning, and he was starting to see these lights in the sky. And so he goes to tell his wife, he's like, you're going to think I'm crazy. And she's like, I already think you're crazy. Just, what's up? And he said, well, I'm seeing these lights. And she was like, have you videoed them? And he was like, well, no. Well, have you told Pam about them? Well, no. And they're like, then what are you doing? And he's like, okay, I'm seeing them like every night. So he finally went out and took some video sitting in their driveway. And he did an absolute phenomenal job. You can see the lights going in and out here as we're watching it. But you'll also notice that he managed to get the telephone pole and the mailbox in the shot. And this is such a great job that he did, because not only can you get a really good perspective on how the lights are moving, because he's not zoomed in trying to get right on top of the light. When you do that, you can't see the size, you can't really see the path, you can't see anything like that. But when you manage to get these particular landmarks in, it really gives it gives you what you need to understand what the lights are actually doing. And they continue to see these all the time. But yeah, he did a great job. He sent these in he gave these to me about 2.5 years ago, maybe now. But he does continue to see them all the time. And I just think he did a phenomenal job. I love that Enzo included this for that reason.
Yeah. We actually see these all over the place now. We're hearing about them happening. We have a cluster of them out near the Great Bend, Kansas area. We have a cluster up near Kansas City. We have a cluster somewhere over in Missouri. We need to talk to Debbie Ziegelmeyer and figure out where she was talking about so we can pinpoint it.
It's I know it's on old Route 66 and it's south of St. Louis, so it's down there somewhere.
Yeah. So interesting. And they all have, it's all the same phenomena, this, little lights that shoot around and join up and spread out and split up and turn colors. But once you drive towards them, at some point they disappear.
Yeah.
And you can be looking at them and then have a friend on the opposite side and they won't see a thing.
Which
is
is
amazing.
Crazy. Yeah, Debbie, we actually showed her this video, and she's the one that told us it was just like the lights that they're seeing and have been studying for quite a while down where she's from.
Yeah. The area out by Great Bend that's being watched is actually being watched by an entire group of police officers who are kind of, are sheriffs of the rural area out there, and they watch it nightly. I get updates from them all the time. So,
yeah,
pretty amazing. That just a person out with their cell phone, they're seeing it. They tell their neighbors, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't believe you." They went out and shot video of it. And, as Pam said, this is the way to do it. You've got here's your mailbox. You've got your pole here where you could go to that exact spot today and kind of, measure off on the pole, and that'll kind of give you an idea of the altitude of some of these things, how high in the air are these things going, kind of a thing. Ideally, if you had someone, multiple people like in different areas, you can completely triangulate exactly where it was. Having something like this where you keep something in the foreground. We'll get into it here in a minute about zooming in and going for the action shot, stuff like that. So.
Says Texas has that too. We would love to hear about it. Please let us know about where and how it happens. Send it over to submissions@bordertownstrange.com. We would love to add it to our studies.
Yeah, for sure. I know Texas has Marfa lights too. They show up pretty often. UFO triangle in Scotland is less than an hour from me. It's Grumpy. That's cool. He's in Glasgow.
Yeah. If you are talking about the Marfa lights, that's something very, very different than what we're talking about here.
These are like they're not super small lights, but they are not huge either.
And they reside up in the sky, like up in the sky.
Where this person lives, they actually live on top of a pretty tall hill. And so these lights are out, I don't even know how many miles away from them that they're seeing them. But they're above where it dips back down. So they're in the valley across the street or across the road from them.
So interesting.
All right. The moment you've all been waiting for, and if you saw this presentation the first time, this is where the ceiling caved in, which is this is where people. This is why people came and like, show me what these settings are. I want to know how to set my phone up right. And right as I talked about it, curse splash. That. No problem this year, except for the sound. No one could hear me on the video, so that's why we're here. But let's go ahead and walk through this. First, I'll start off with, I don't break it down by like if you've got an Apple phone or a Pixel or a Samsung or any of that stuff, because even amongst the different brands, there's so many different levels of, the bleeding edge high end phone for $2,000 to, the free phone that you get for opening an account, kind of a thing. And so they're all the different phones, and the cameras are also radically different. There's just no way I could accurately point to a screen and say these are the settings. So I'm going to kind of keep it general, so you'll have to poke around on your own phone for it. But these are mostly just useful pieces of advice that to help you kind of get things in order if you're trying to basically do night photography. But the first thing you should look at is the different modes that your camera can shoot in. If you have one of the higher end phones made the last couple of years, they've started including a specific night mode for it, which is a lot like, a bunch of like certain video cameras and stuff like that. They have like a night shot or something like that, where it does all the heavy lifting for you at the push of a button, where most of the settings we're going to talk about later are automatically set. So if you've got a night mode, you're in great shape. Push night mode and shoot away. But if you don't, you're going to have to manually do it yourself. So you'll want to look for one of those different modes, like a manual mode or a pro mode, something like that, where when you push that button, then the selection for all the other stuff you're about to see will be on there. One of the bigger things is the ISO setting. You want to set that to kind of a higher range thing, like a 1600 to 3200 kind of range. What this is this allows the sensor that's on your phone to be, on the camera part of your phone, to be more sensitive to light. That's basically its sensitivity. And if you're taking a picture of something that looks like a star on a dark background late at night, there's not a whole lot. You want to try and get as much of that light in. And the biggest way to get your stuff in there is having a bigger lens. When your lens is only this big, you can't get a whole lot of light in there. So that's why your phone, it's just not designed for taking pictures of dim things on a black background at night. It's just, let's be honest, this is for, selfies and cat pictures. That's what this is for. But you can use it if you set some of these settings up. So set your ISO up kind of high, but you don't want to go too high with it. And this will depend a lot on your phone and even the sky conditions that you're looking at, because it's going to collect so much light that it starts overloading the sensor, where it'll kind of look snowy, like an old staticky TV kind of image if you set it up too high. So you got to watch that. Moving on to the resolution. You want to set that as high as you can get. Whatever your phone can handle, set it to that. Now, you have to be careful, like with some of the newer phones that go up to like 8K. It'll take a picture or a video in 8K. However, it's probably going to sacrifice a few things like the camera stabilization, and it'll bump down how many frames per second it's shooting at, which is kind of a good thing. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But there may be other features that you're used to having at the lower settings that may not be working exactly how you want it. So you'll have to test that out on your individual phone. Camera stabilization. If you've got shaky hands like me, you want that on. You always want that on. It's just going to help round it out, especially if whatever you're taking a picture of is moving. It's it'll make it a lot less jittery. So stabilization on. If you don't have that kind of feature on your phone, there's always manual stabilization. Put your elbows on the top of the car or the hood of the car or a trash can or something like that, or even just resting one of your hands against a light pole or something like that. Try and keep your camera as steady as possible and maneuver it around and all of that. Because just doing this, and especially if whatever it is, if it's moving, it won't look like it until you look at it later. It's going to look like you're doing this. So you want to try and keep your elbows in tight against your body, all that stuff. You want to try and keep it as stable as possible, especially if you have to zoom in a little bit at something far away. So there you go with that. If you're taking actual photos, you want to adjust your shutter speed a little bit manually because, again, how fast that shutter is open and closing when it takes the picture, the longer it's open, the more light it's allowing in. So you might want to consider, if it's something that's not moving, consider going to a 1 to 2 second exposure time for something like a faint star that'll just make it pop out much brighter on your photo at the end. But using a longer exposure can cause trails because if it's open and you move just a little bit or whatever your target is starts to move, it's just going to leave a streak and a blur. So be aware of that. Frame per second that we talked about if you're using video, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but you want to use a lower frame rate, such as like 30 frames per second. The reason for that, the whole reason for all of the suggestions that I'm putting on here is to allow more light onto that sensor so you can actually get a good picture of whatever it is. And if you had, say, 60 frames per second, whatever little bit of light you're collecting in your phone is now going to be split up into 60 pieces per second versus 30. So you're allowing a little more light in. It won't be, you're not going to be able to do super slow-mo with it if you look at it later or anything like that. But generally speaking, you're going to want to bump it down just a little bit if it's a very dim object. The focus on your camera for video or for photos, set it to manual, and then set the focus to infinity. Crank it all the way up. That ensures that those distant objects stay sharp. They stay the same because we've probably all seen videos of somebody trying to video that dim object far away in a black background. Your camera doesn't, when it's something small like that, your camera doesn't know what to autofocus on. There's not enough light coming into the camera lens for it to autofocus. So it'll go out of focus where it looks like a big swarmy bubble thing, and then it'll snap back into place and it'll keep going back and forth like that. And then you get people are like, look at this orb expanding on the video. No, that's not what's happening. That's your autofocus going bananas trying to focus on this little thing. So set it to manual, set the focus to infinity. Aperture, that's basically, again, how much light it's allowing in when it's taking that picture. You want to set that to the lowest F number. It's got, F 1.8, 2.8, things like that. Those are kind of low. And that's, again, I say it's a low physical number, but it's a widest possible aperture. It's the opposite of what you would think. But that, again, that's allowing the maximum amount of light in to get that better picture. And you're trying to get light into the camera, don't add more by having your flash on automatically. If you're trying to take a picture of the UFO and you put off the flash, anything that's in the foreground is now going to be clearly in focus and wash out anything that's up in the sky that you're trying to take a picture of. And people will laugh at you and you'll look up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You'll definitely get those orbs everybody's so all about.
You may attract more attention than you want by setting the flash off, if you're trying to take a casual picture of our visitors. But that may be, as far as photography is concerned, disable your flash. Big thing, as we were talking about earlier with Pam, is to frame the picture. Start off with a wide shot, have something in frame so you get some kind of reference, cars going by, parking lot, buildings in the background, telephone poles, lamp posts, all of these things. These are all good references so that when you're taking the picture, you know what it is. And when you play it back, even if it's wacky. You're going to be super excited and you're going to show it to your friends and they're going to think you just took a picture while you're falling down the stairs. It's like, what is this mess? I don't understand what's happening. So be conscious of these things. But the big no-no is going crazy with your zoom, though, in all of this. Because, even if you have like your super stellar $2,000 whiz bang camera that's only whiz bang for a year, then you got to get the other 2,000 camera next year. It's still not as good as a regular camera. Anything that has a larger lens than this is a much better camera. So don't get carried away with how much your phone is. That $2,000, you could have bought a super nice camera if you wanted to. But anyways, the mistake a lot of people make is, I'm going to zoom in on it. If it's something that's sitting still, there's zoom, zoom, zoom. They, unpinch or swiper, whatever the hell they call that when you're moving that on your camera. Be careful with that. If you're going to zoom in a little bit at a time. Take it in steps. Now, especially if it starts to move, you want to zoom out a little bit, because if it starts moving quickly or at a, jagged pace, or it's going in stops and starts or something like that, if you're zoomed in tight, you're going to miss it every time. You're going to be swinging that camera all over the sky, and you're going to get more pictures of the background than whatever your target is, because you lost it in the frame. Where did it go? You don't want to be that guy trying to explain, look at this cool thing I saw. It's like, I don't know what this is. You show it to somebody else. But and also there's a big difference between a phone or camera that has a natural telephoto lens versus a digital zoom. Digital zoom is a marketing ploy. You don't want to use your digital, like, I've got a 30x digital zoom. No, that's not really what that is. All that is like, we've all messed around with photo manipulation type software to try to zoom in on something or look at something else. If you zoom in too close on any photo, it just gets super pixelated and all that. That's what digital zoom is doing inside your phone. It's not really zooming in. It's zooming in on the image that's already there. So all you're doing is making your, whatever it is you're trying to take a picture of, look like the Lego version by zooming in on it. So now, to be fair, there are some of the newer cameras that have come out that have a regular telephoto style lens. They're not super strong. You'll go from like 2 to like maybe 5x, but that's still really good. And all of that stuff is all within the lenses itself, so it's not affecting the actual sensor and all that. Your digital zoom is zooming in on the sensor is basically what it is. But most of all, don't be afraid to experiment with your own phone. Take it outside. If you see a plane, practice tracking the plane. You can do that, or birds, because birds fly erratically. If you see that hawk circling out there, try zooming in on it. How easy is it? It's actually kind of hard. Yeah, stuff like that. And just like any piece of equipment that you're going to use, the more you practice with it, the more you're going to be able to, when you get that once in a lifetime weird thing that happens, to be able to slap it out of its holster and grab that picture successfully. So.
These are all great.
They are. I would like to add in that the zooming in thing is almost always useless unless that object is like right up in your Pop-Tart and you can see like its well-defined shape. No matter how much you zoom in with your phone, you're never going to be able to see enough detail to warrant it being worth it. What it's more worth is getting that zoomed out shot where we can see the movement or the lack thereof, because that's really where you're going to be able to tell, is this something man-made? Is this something that we have that can physically do this, or is this something else entirely? Just like the little lights we were talking about before, they move in such weird patterns. There's no way even a drone couldn't do some of the things that this thing is doing. Or, even better, its lack of movement. A lack of movement can absolutely be something fantastic, unless it's a helicopter, which I can tell when a helicopter is nearby, even if it's in far away, just by the looks of it. If it's just hanging out there static for half an hour, there's something amazing happening. So don't worry about zooming in so much as just getting its movement or lack thereof.
And as far as if whatever it is moving, even if you just see something weird and you decide you're going to take a shot of it, and afterwards you find out it's an airplane or it's a satellite or whatever, which we're going to talk about next, things that it could be that aren't a UFO. You want kind of like that wider. Now, obviously, if it's like directly overhead, you're not going to have anything for perspective or something like that, unless you're like underneath of a power line or something like that that just happens to be something there. But that's actually kind of useful too, because it's any kind of reference. Because if you're keeping it centered on the screen and it's moving, if you zoom in too much, you're not going to be able to tell that, oh, it was actually doing this like wavy thing as it flew along. If you're being the super guy tracking it, that's not going to show up on there. If you keep it a little wider and you can see what it's doing compared to the rest, if there's trees or a telephone pole or anything like that, that's actually more useful, I feel, than anything else. Because no matter what you do, you're not going to be, unless it's all up in your Pop-Tart. It's just unless you can get a
We're gonna
zoom
start using that.
Unless you can get zoomed in to see what flavor it is, with your camera, it's not going to do you much good for that. So ease up on the zoom, folks.
Yeah.
But anyways, as
I
we
have a
mentioned,
question.
Oh,
I have a
yeah,
question,
sure.
Enzo. So I'm just going to set up like a little scenario. So they're walking along, they look up, they see something happening really quick, and they have seconds to get their phone up and do something about it before it's out of the sky. What are the basic things they need to do just to get that quick?
Well, all of the things that I've talked about here, I know my phone does this, but I can't guarantee your phone does this. But it has like an automatic. That's those modes that we talked about. The very first thing is where you can go from an automatic to a manual mode. My phone saves all those settings for manual mode, and I can still switch back to automatic for like regular stuff, regular cat videos and selfies. For manual mode, you can preset it up with all of these settings, as I've said, and go from there. Oops. And it'll be ready to go. But if push comes to shove, and you don't want to start confusing yourself and miss it, you're playing with your phone and trying to figure out these settings. What the hell did Enzo tell me to do? I got to do the thing. That is not the time when the event is happening to, what did that guy tell me on the internet? He said to put this setting to that. Is that right? Did he say to leave the flash on? I can't remember. All of these things. If you have something bananas happening in the sky in front of you, shoot your shot. Don't, if you didn't set any of this stuff up, you will certainly go back and watch this video later and set your phone up afterwards. So it happens. If it comes back, you'll be ready for it. But most UFO sightings are measured in seconds for most sightings of just seeing something odd in the sky. So you're not going to have time. Now, ideally, if you're with two people, you can tell somebody else, hey, start videoing that thing with your phone while you're setting your phone up to make sure it's set for all of these other settings that we talked about. And then you start filming it too. That way they're keeping an eye on it. They're tracking it. They're getting something, which is way better than nothing. And then you can follow up by maybe missing a couple of seconds with your super settings that you've set up on your phone. So want to see cat videos now? Those are private.
Wants to see your cat videos. Oh my. Sorry, didn't mean to get all up in your Pop-Tart.
But so if you're given that scenario of holy crap, something's happening right now, forget everything I said. Get something. You can certainly probably remember to try and frame it a little bit, and don't zoom in. If you don't remember anything else, stop with the zooming. It's not that helpful.
It's not.
But
Not unless it's like literally like so close that.
Yeah, if it's that close, maybe you don't need to zoom. If you can, the like the military is always like, the Department of Defense, Department of War. It's like, we don't know that this is an interstellar craft. Basically, they would have to zoom in on it and see that bumper sticker proudly made in Alpha Centauri on the bumper sticker before they would be allowed to say, okay, maybe this was made in Alpha Centauri. But if you're close enough to get a picture of that thing and you can zoom in on it, more power to you. Send me copies.
Yeah, we would love to see it.
As we talked about earlier, there are other things in the sky that may not be UFO. We're going to talk a little bit about basic identification things of some of these other things. The most common thing you might see in the sky is a regular aircraft, whether it's civilian or military. All of them have navigation lights that are in the same positions on every aircraft that flies anywhere. And that also includes drones, even the little DJI drones, the left wingtip, everything aviation wise goes like if you're in the pilot seat facing forward, the left, because if you look at me, I'm holding my left arm out, but it looks like my right, because it's on the right side of the screen. But the left side, as we look at our picture, that wingtip is always going to be red. The right wingtip is always going to be green. Back on the end of the tail, it's either going to be white. Some older aircraft have a white and amber light back there, but it'll be a much lighter color. And that's how at night, some guy in the control tower is trying to figure out what that plane is, looking through his binoculars. He can see, I can see a green and white light. That means that's the right wing facing wing. It means it's going to be heading that way, and it's heading away from it because of the lights he can see. So there are also going to be an untold number of anti-collision lights. They're strobe lights. Usually come in white or red, both. And those can be located kind of anywhere depending on what the aircraft is. The bigger it is, some of the bigger aircraft will have way more of them, and they'll be spread out, which actually helps identify it if you see it really far apart. Obviously, it's a larger aircraft if you're seeing it from a long distance where you can't see the plane itself. So if you see basic rule of thumb is if you see flashing lights, it's probably an aircraft. How do you know for sure it's an aircraft? Well, you can pull up flightradar24.com, free thing. There's an app for that on your phone where you can actually see a lot of air traffic going around there. Now it's not perfect because it's based on people on the ground that have their own receiver or transmitter array, and they're basically wired into Flight Radar 24 as a server. But you can see aircraft on there and click on it. You can tell its altitude, what kind of plane it is, where it took off from, where it's going, all of these other facts where if you're not sure, hey, is that a plane or not? You can pull the app up and it's free, doesn't cost anything. There are paid versions which allow you to look back a series of months. Like I subscribed to Flight Radar 24 Silver, which is like their low end package, but I can look at all the traffic for the last 3 months. So if somebody says, hey, I saw this weird light in the sky and I was at this place, all I need to know is exactly where they were and when they were. And it's within the last 3 months, I can rewind to that date to see, was there an aircraft in that general area to rule it out or to maybe say that's what it was. So that's a way to verify it. But there are other things out there. Rockets and satellites. We've got our high-tech super picture here that I am actually going to activate my on-screen laser because we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's on here.
Ooh, activating lasers. Stuff's getting fancy.
My little red laser dot here.
Wow.
What this is, when you basically, like if you're sitting here where the laser is, you're standing here on Earth The sun is setting to the west. Oh, off to the west. Off to the east, if you look at the eastern horizon, you'll see a very narrow band of like a pinkish purplish thing that's in front of the Earth's shadow. It's called the belt of Venus. If you have really clear skies, you can kind of make it out. It's not that easy to spot. But as you're sitting here, you know, because basically you've got this horizon line here with the Earth's shadow. So everything in here is all in the Earth's shadow. Everything up here is still in full sunlight. So as you're standing here and the night progresses on, the Earth rotates around, you're now in full darkness. You're deep into the Earth's shadow. About 30 minutes after sunset is when all like dusk or dawn light from where the sun is, whether it's sunrise or sunset, that's when that disappears after about 30 minutes totally. But even at that 30-minute mark, you're still seeing stars directly overhead, you know, and you're like in here for that. Well, you're in the dark, but satellites are a couple hundred miles up here. They're still in full sunlight. So when they go over while you're in the Earth's shadow here in the dark, they're in full sunlight, and you can see basically satellites and like the ISS and the Chinese space station, they all have these giant solar arrays, so they're very reflective. So you'll see a solid dot, you know, it's like a small star-sized dot. No flashing lights or anything like it. It'll be a steady light, and it's moving in a straight line as it goes. Now, yes, satellites and rockets can alter their course and change position, you know, satellites especially for, you know, changing their orbits and stuff like that, but it's like a tiny fraction of a degree when they move. For a ground observer seeing one going over, it's going to be a straight line. You will never see a satellite, whoop, they changed it. Oh, they must have changed its orbit. No, that's not what's happening. That's not a satellite if you see that. So that's why you can see these things. And you know, as you're here on the ground, the Earth's still rotating, you're going to finally get to the point where the entire Earth shadow, you're totally enveloped from horizon to horizon to where you're not going to be able to see those satellites going over more. As a matter of fact, and that lasts about 2 hours ish after sunset. But like in an hour and a half, you'll actually see, you know, a satellite up here, full sunlight, and then you'll see it actually dive into the Earth's shadow and it'll disappear. And we have some video of that too. But since we're on this particular graphic, I'll point out a couple other things about things you'll see in the sky. If you're standing like right here, right at sunset, you'll notice the thickness of the atmosphere for things that are directly overhead. It's that thick. However, if you look like to the west towards sun, look at how much of the atmosphere you're looking through to see the sun. You know, it's like 3 or 4 times as much. That's why at sunrise and sunset, the sun changes colors, where it's those more darker, redder kind of colors, because it's going through more of the atmosphere versus a more whiter color where it's like at noon, where it's going only through this much versus this much. And so that's also the reason why if you see stars that are lower towards the horizon that are twinkling like crazy, they're just really flashing. It's the same reason. You're looking through multiple thermal layers of the upper atmosphere where it's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold between you and them. And it's just like looking at anything on a hot asphalt street in the summertime. You get those waves of heat coming off. It's basically a distortion. That's why those stars are twinkling like crazy. But if you sat and watched as the orbit change, you know, as the night goes on and it gets higher in the sky, it won't be twinkling as much when it's directly overhead because there's less atmosphere between you and whatever it is you're looking at. Just figured I'd throw that in there since we were on this page.
Yeah. That's very cool.
As far as rockets go, when a rocket goes up out of SpaceX launches out of Texas now, and any of the rocket launches out of Vandenberg in California, or they're Florida. NASA's launching a bunch of stuff. Whenever those things go up, if they, again, are in the shadow of the Earth when the launch goes up, it doesn't take long to get up where it's in full sunlight. Now, when you see a daylight launch of a rocket, you see those billowing clouds coming off of it, and it looks all fantastic and amazing. Well, when there's no light hitting it, it looks kind of different. And it's still that all that stuff is when it gets up higher, you don't see that contrail as much when it's getting into the upper parts of the atmosphere, because there's no atmosphere to contain all the smoke kind of a thing of it. But it's still ejecting out exhaust, so that when it gets high enough and is in this kind of a situation where it's in full sunlight, it looks a lot like this, where it takes on this strange amoeba-looking thing in the sky that freaks people out. And it happens quite often. And you can see it for a very long ways away, too, where there's people like this is in South Carolina for a Florida launch. And it looks like this monstrous thing taking up a giant chunk of the sky, and it's glowing bright white, and it's gonna kill us all. No, it's just a rocket launcher seeing the exhaust. But some other things that happen is if your rocket has multiple stages on it, which most of them do, when that lower stage burns out and it ejects off, and then the upper stage kicks in and it carries the satellite or whatever further up into its final orbital insertion point, that lower part that's it gets ejected off usually has a little bit of fuel left in it. So, and it's still kind of spitting out exhaust out of the back, and there's nothing controlling it once it disconnects. And it's actually designed to kind of move away from the upper stage so it doesn't accidentally smash into it. So what usually happens is it starts to spin in the way, hundreds of miles up above the atmosphere, and it starts to spin. And when it's in that position where you're in the dark and it's in full sunlight, you see these crazy swirl patterns showing up, which is what we see in some of these pictures out of South Carolina as well. Most things you're going to see out there are going to be SpaceX Starlink satellites. This is what an actual Starlink satellite launch looks like. Once the rocket gets up, blows the covers off, and it launches these flat-packed 20 to 30 Starlink satellites, springs them all out into space, all packed together tight. And as they go to the graphic, and that upper stage is like swinging a little bit, it's rotating a little bit, so it kind of like throws it out through centrifugal force. And over several days, those flat-packed satellites start spreading out further and further. Usually after like 24 to 48 hours, they're moved out enough to where they can unfold the solar panels on them, and then they can connect the satellites from the ground, and then they can start aiming it towards wherever it's supposed to go for its normal orbit and slowly push up. Basically for 3 to 7 days afterwards, these satellites are really, really close with their solar panels open. And as it goes on, it gets further and further apart from each other, but they're still mostly in a line, which is what a lot of people see. Here we can see what's called a Starlink train. You can see it moving along there. Now, to be honest, a few years ago when this was all kind of new, if you saw this going on in the sky, you'd freak out. You're like, it's an invasion. What's going on? But it's just Starlink satellites that you can get cool, fast internet from anywhere on the planet, unaffiliated with Starlink.
Believe it or not, they are still freaking out about it. Every time we get one near our area, I get 2 or 3 messages saying, hey, y'all better get out here and check this out. And I'm like, tell me which direction you're looking. And I pull up my nighttime sky app and go, oh, it's Starlink, sweetie. It's okay.
And they'd really freak out at this one because this is one of those cases where the satellites are actually going into the Earth's shadow. You can see they're slowly disappearing one at a time across the sky. So again, imagine, oh my gosh, what's this? And oh, they've got cloaking devices. They're all going into a secret wormhole or something wild if you don't know what's going on. But that's what it looks like. And So if you see something weird in the sky like that, how do you know what it is? Well, there's a lot of things going on there. And this is actually a totally different video. There's parts of this that are sped up and slowed down. The very bright ones, like they see one in the center of the screen going down the right, that's an aircraft. You can see another here down in the left corner, another Starlink train going along. All the other lights, the dimmer, steady lights you see moving in there, are all satellites. 90% of them are Starlink. And so it's actually kind of getting to be a problem for like astronomers, where there's, if you're trying to take a picture of this tiny nebula that's like a pixel wide, if you're looking at it through your phone, but if you're zoomed in on it with an actual telescope, where they'll get Starlink trails going through their pictures that they're trying to take of distant galaxies, it's like Starlink. But this video, I'm gonna advance it just a tiny bit. I have to turn off my laser. But there's parts in here. Well, this is sped up a little bit just to give you an idea how much satellite traffic is going on. It's a lot. But there is one particular thing in this video that this is something that someone just sat outside their house and just filmed the sky for like that 2 hours when everything flying over the house, and it's cool. But they noticed something else.
Ah,
nice.
Don't know what that is. So somebody just doing a basic, hey, I'm just going to do this thing to show how much satellite's going by. And they caught something kind of weird.
very cool.
We'll look at that again here. Because that's like something that's stretched out wide. That could be one of our tubular shaped vehicles we were talking about earlier. I don't know. Because that's way bigger than all the satellites that we see on the screen there. So
just how fast it was moving was incredible.
Near the tail end of that near the tail end of it, you can see other satellites going past it, like at this point. It's right there in the background. Those are way smaller than whatever that was. I don't know what that is. Oh.
It's pretty cool.
But anyways, how do you tell if it's a satellite? You see something weird. Well, there's an app for that. I happen to like this one. It's called Heavens Above. What I like about it, this is 3 different screens that you would see while using the app. Over on the left side, that's kind of like your home page. It has a specific button for the ISS, so you can tell where the ISS is, and when it'll tell you exactly what time of night it's coming over your house, if it's coming over, all that stuff. But actually, my favorite part is it has that nightly events tab there, the second one on the list, and it gives you what you see in the second panel, the middle, where it shows you, okay, sunset is at this time. Here's when this Starlink satellite comes over. These other Cosmos rockets, which are Russian satellite launches and stuff like that. Tells you when twilight ends, which is about 30 minutes, and so on and so on and so on. And it has there's filters because there's going to be so many Starlinks on there that you can't see anything else. You have to kind of mute the Starlink options, but it'll tell you all about what it is. And you can have this map, which is on the third screen there, where you can see whatever it is. You can click on any of that stuff under nightly events. In this case, they clicked on ISS, and it shows you the track in the sky. You'll notice on the map there on the right, it says north and south at the bottom, but it has east on the left side and west on the other side. It's like, hey, what? Basically, it's designed for you to have it on your phone, and you hold it over your head to look up at the sky, so you can compare. Because when you see more in-depth picture of it live, you can see constellations and stuff on that, and you can pick where the constellations. Oh, that's going to be here. But you click on like ISS in this case, it shows you the track of it going across the sky. And in this instance, it starts off like it's a blue line on the right and then turns into a white line. It's coming out of the Earth's shadow in this particular instance. So it illustrates that. So if you see something like that and it's live, you're watching it live, you can pull this up and it'll tell you exactly what it is. Very much like it's a sky version of, it's a satellite version like Flight Tracker 24 that we saw earlier.
Very cool.
Planets and stars. There's a zillion astronomy apps out there. This is an image from Google Sky, where I don't need, big fancy pictures of what the, constellation is supposed to be or anything. It's like, no, I just want the wireframe. I don't know any of that stuff. But a lot of things like Google Sky, for instance, there's a gyro and it uses the GPS position and all that stuff on your phone. So when you hold it up in front of you and you pan up, the sky pans with it. So you see like a really bright star over there, all you have to do is swing your phone up and it'll tell you exactly what it is. It's like, oh, that's not a star at all. That's the planet Jupiter. No wonder it's so bright. Things like that. And it's just something handy to have because according to Project Blue Book, Venus gets confused for UFOs all the time.
It does. It does.
But astronomy app, very useful to have. Which brings us to meteor shows. We actually just came out of a big one here, August 12th, the Perseids. That's always a popular one. But meteors are basically, they're just dust that's hitting the upper part of the atmosphere and it's burning up as it's moving in because it's moving at like 17,000 miles per hour. So if you can imagine, you fall off of your motorcycle doing 20, everyone will laugh at you. If you fall off of your motorcycle doing 120, nobody's going to be laughing at whatever's left of you when you get picked up off of the road. Is the faster you go, the quicker you're going to do damage, even on air, the top of the atmosphere. If you're streaking through the universe at 17,000 miles an hour in a vacuum and suddenly start hitting air, the atmosphere, you're going to slow down fast and you burn up. That's what we're seeing is basically comets, as they orbit around the sun, they leave a trail of debris behind them. Comets sort of like a dirty snowball. It's mostly frozen gases and small, maybe pebble-sized particles, like rocks that's picked up here and there in its journeys around the solar system. And it leaves this trail around the sun. Well, the Earth orbits and it passes through those lines. And at very specific times of the year, you get more than average. You can go out and see a meteor any night. But if you pull up some kind of website that talks about meteor showers or the Farmer's Almanac or something like that, all that kind of stuff's in there where it tells you the specific dates where you're going to see sometimes hundreds per hour, where you can just sit outside in the lawn chair and just watch the sky fireworks go off. And it's kind of cool. And I've got a video here just of some live stuff. Just goes real quick. Something like that. It just lasts a couple seconds. You almost blink and you miss it. There's one that's there's like a bright green one. I think it's going to pop up here. That's a little bit bigger than sand size, but not by much. But that brings me to an end of my presentation. Whoa, there's that big green one. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the sky already. So when you see something that's unusual, certainly go for the camera and document. I didn't even talk about auroras, but you got a little bit of aurora going on in this one. But that's it. That's all I've got for you about how to use your phone. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed talking to you about it for the third time. And, well, 2.5. But,
it's a presentation that was worthy of a repeat.
Yes. If anyone have any questions, do that up in the chat or down in the comments after the show's there if you didn't see us live, and I'll do my best to try and answer.
Yeah. And if you're listening in on this later and you have a question, you can send that in to submissions at bordertownstrange.com. Also, along with show ideas and stories. And if you maybe have a fantastic UFO photo or video you want us to see, send it right along there. We would love to see it and maybe even put it on the show. Yeah. I think this is a topic that isn't talked about enough.
Oh, about what to do or how to do it?
Yeah.
About what to do, how to do it, what is and isn't, and kind of the history behind it. I think we kind of take it for granted, oh, you saw something, you didn't get a good photo, or you didn't get a photo at all. That's something else we need to touch on. The fact that sometimes either it happens just so quickly, or more often than not, you are just so flabbergasted at the situation you find yourself in. Your phone is the last thing you think to grab.
Many cases, whether it's like a cryptid or a ghost thing or a UFO thing, you're going to take a few seconds to your brain's trying to process what the devil is seeing. It's like, is this like is this a trick in light and shadow? Are you a piece of undigested beef? What's going on? It's one of those things that happens to everybody. There's that moment of hesitation that you don't react.
You're trying to figure out what you're looking at, and then it's over with. It's the same with cryptids. If you see one and it's there and then it's gone, and it's just like, wait a minute, come back. And
now,
I didn't get a picture.
That happens to every single human on the planet, and there's certainly people that have tried, like in combat situations, you can't. Was that a bullet shooting at me? No, you can't do that. You need to be able to, know to take cover or to react, fire back, things like that. There are things you can do, but if it's something that's unknown, it's not like you can go out to the Bigfoot simulator popping out of the woods kind of a thing. But, something like that, or something, a UFO appearing in the sky. That's not something you can practice with, really. But it also kind of rolls in with the debunker side. It's like, well, everybody's got a cell phone. How come we don't have more fantastical pictures? I kind of went through some of that. This was not designed for taking pictures of dim things in the sky at night.
That's true.
And usually the argument for that, because I've made the argument for it, is like you crumble up a piece of paper and throw it across the room. It's like, did you take a picture of that? No. Yeah. How do you know it happened?
Exactly. Really? Yeah. Yep.
I mean, even in our field, even like just paranormal stuff, I don't know how many things that we did not get on video or on a camera because it literally just happened, and even us as seasoned investigators, it takes you that second to download.
Yeah.
What did I just see? And before you even get your phone up, that's long gone, and all you have is the story. So.
Yeah, because how many times, have UFOs been seen where people were actually actively looking for them? The majority of the time, it was just a happenstance, and you're not ready. You're not prepared. You're trying to figure out what it was.
How many times you go to like you guys don't use a ton of cameras already, but almost every ghost show on TV where that's their thing is they're trying to get pictures of it. They'll have 15 different cameras all wired up, all pointed to all parts of the house, but everybody sees the thing coming down the hallway that doesn't have a camera on it. It's like,
yeah. Ian said it's interesting how many people aren't familiar with looking at the sky. A good example was the New Jersey drone flap recently. All of a sudden, folks started looking up and confusing themselves. Yep.
Oh, there were I watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of video on TikTok or anybody else that would post their stuff from when that was going on. 90+% were regular aircraft. A lot of them were aircraft that looked like they were landing or taking off from an airport that must have been near their house. It's like, did you not know there was an airport there?
You
you
just
not
never
notice these
looked.
planes coming and going? And that's honestly the truth. A lot of people don't look.
Yeah. People just don't look.
Yeah.
Bob Gimlin, YouTube channel Alias, pointed out that even his iPhone didn't take pristine pictures of apes at the zoo in their light of day enclosures. Yeah.
Yep.
Selfies and cat videos. That's it.
Yes.
What it's for.
That's so true.
And really, how often, I mean, us aside, people like us who really love this stuff, how often do you walk outside and look up at night? How often do people actually do that? They're so busy, you know, I got to get into the house, or I'm going to get to my car because I'm going to go over to a friend's house. They don't look up.
Yep.
I'm guilty of it. I rarely look up.
I mean, I remember, you know, when being little, you know, well, of course, you know, it's back in the 80s and there's absolutely nothing to do after the sun sets, except for you had to be home to have dinner. You know, just laying out in the grass, getting bit with chiggers, but watching the sky forever. Just watching the stars go overhead. People just don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Used to be afraid to look up, kind of still am. Yeah.
It's just look at if you live someplace where, if you live in like one of those dark spots where there's not a lot of city lights, where you can really see the stars, especially the Milky Way, and just it kind of gives you that better, this is vast, this is impossibly large, especially when it's super dark and you can, because if you get really dark, like if you're out in the middle of the ocean.
That's exactly why I don't look up, Ian.
Ian said probably just as well, Pam watches where her feet are going.
I have to.
But if you're like out on an ocean cruise or something like that, or you're visiting like a small island out in the middle of the Pacific or whatever, if you're away from all the lights and there's no other lights anywhere around you, it gets super dark at night. And if you're looking at the Milky Way as it goes over, it's so dark you can see like the cloud structure of the Milky Way. Like it's like looking at like the side of like a thunderstorm cloud. It's got, you can see all the little edges of it and stuff like that because the sun's setting at that, you know, right angle. It's kind of like that. It gives this dimension to it where you're not used to seeing. And it's just like there's this monstrously big thing overhead right now, and I cannot comprehend how giant that is.
Yep. Crazy. Enzo, this has been fantastic. Thanks again for agreeing to come on and do this and chit-chat at us for a while.
Enjoyed doing
Answer questions.
Yeah.
Was able to
Enzo
flesh
the
it out a little
science
bit in
guy.
a couple spots. Yeah.
Yay!
Who's that man in the fancy shirt? Who's the man with the cheeky smirk? Who has the answers? Who can explain? What's Enzo the science guy? Enzo the science guy. Ask him how, ask him why. Enzo the science guy. He's Enzo the science guy.
I forgot that existed. That is so great.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Too awesome.
Now you see why we brought him into the group, because how could you not?
Right?
He has his own theme song.
My own intro. I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of have to be. Yeah. So, yeah,
Awesome.
it was a lot of fun doing this, even for like the crowd, because after I did it this past year, well, a few weeks ago, really, at our Paracon, had a bunch of people coming up talking about how great it was and all that stuff. So many people are like, I watched it last year, and I still enjoyed the part that I watched from last year a second.
Yeah.
So,
It is good.
It was a good one, and we included you can buy these like souvenir booklets, and we included all that stuff that you saw on here tonight in that booklet, so they could kind of follow along with it and have it to take home to kind of, like work through manually with their phone if they chose to do so. And I think it was a big hit.
I think it was too. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
Seemed to
enjoy
be.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, a
going over
topic
that-
that's not talked about enough.
Going over that stuff is kind of dry. Set this setting to this. Set this setting to this. If this happens, put this way. It's kind of hard to make that entertaining. That's why I kind of fleshed it out with, here's the history of taking pictures. And you can take a good picture if you know what you're doing. If you have the right equipment and you know how to use it. And all that. It's hard to do nowadays, because originally I was just going to use cell phone type pictures, but there's so much of it that's fake that it's hard to do, especially today with AI and all the rest of it. It's harder and harder to pick out what's fake, mostly because of how ridiculous it is. If you're seeing super detail, there's like girders and rivets on this craft as it flew over. Yeah, that's not how a phone works. Cell phone doesn't work that way. But yeah, it's a lot of fun talk about that, because you get to do a little storytelling there about how some of those pictures were taken, and that piques people's interest. They're like, hey, I'm going to look up that Calvine thing. That sounds kind of cool, Because for the actual presentation, I was only had like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it was, 50 minutes. And so I couldn't really get into a lot of detail for some of the stories with like the historical stuff. I think everything else I kind of kept the same. I just kind of stretched it a little bit here for this video for some of the historical
You did great. You did perfect, actually, because you've got us right into notebook game time if we want to do notebook games.
Yep.
We're not.
We're not doing notebook
focus.
games.
I can't focus. I can't focus my eyes enough to read my notebooks.
Oh, no.
It's not going to happen tonight. And I apologize, guys, but we will definitely do it the next time I'm in. I won't be here on the next round because Enzo and I are going to be off adventuring. But I will definitely do a big thing of notebook games on the next show that I'm on. So I apologize. I literally 6 hours straight of staring at the wall and the ceiling. Can't do it. I can barely focus on us.
Aww.
Are you gonna do a show in 2 weeks?
Notebooks.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah. So let's see here.
Chuck. Well played.
Yeah. So coming up here, of course, like always, check us out every 2 weeks, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central. The next one will fall on September 9th, and that will be with Pam and Mark, and whatever the both of them come up with, maybe an interview or something. I don't know. A mystery. Yeah, and if
It'll be exciting videos, I'm sure.
If you're going to be in the Vernal, Utah area around the second week of September, around 9th through 12th, you can come and see Phenomenon. Enzo and I will be there out and about and around and probably watching some fantastic presentations. If you're in that area, stop by and find us. We would love to chat with you. If you see us, actually stop us and say hi. We don't want to hear about it later that you saw us and were too shy.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
It's one of Enzo's pet peeves. So stop and say hi. We would love to chat with you. Also coming up, we have Central Kansas Paracon, September 26th and 27th, I believe, are the dates on that. It's the last weekend of September. That's going to be held in Hutchinson, Kansas, and we will all be there supporting all of our podcast and Border Town Paranormal, and hanging out for the weekend. So if you're going to be in the Hutchinson area, come by and visit with us. We would love to see you there. And a lot of our, well, not a lot, but a few of our speakers that spoke at Archon will be speaking there too. So if you didn't get the opportunity to come to Archon, go to Central Kansas and watch them talk there. It's going to be great, great fun.
Then we're going to be, Enzo and I will both be in Arkansas at Arkansas Expo the weekend before Halloween. Enzo will be giving a presentation there as well, which is super exciting.
Presentation 2 of those days, and we'll be talking about some of the videos that the Department of War has put out, some of which I can identify, and I'm going to show the audience how I identified them or explain some of them that aren't really UFOs or planes or anything else. It's an optical illusion kind of a thing, that kind of stuff. And I'm also going to include a few of them that I find a little curious and can't easily explain. So
Nice.
It's going to be cool. And I'll be there live streaming with Amok, and we'll be promoting Bordertown Strange as well. So it'll be, it's always a good time. That was like the first big Paracon that I got to go to. And I haven't missed a year since. This will be my 4th year, I think, going. So yeah, loved it.
I can't ever go because it's too close to Halloween, and I'm busily getting my yard ready for the 1,000 kids and parents that come through. So
she's not lying. It's literally 1,000 kids and parents that come through.
Yep.
So
literally. Already working on it. So
how far away do kids come to go through your thing there? Because you have like funnel cake and all kinds of stuff that you do.
Oh yeah.
I think the furthest away I've heard of was Tulsa.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. And that was during COVID. Well, not during COVID. It was the tail end of COVID. Caney was one of the few towns that didn't shut down completely, and we still allowed trick-or-treating. And we had a lot come in from, like, Bartlesville and Dewey and Ramona and Tulsa. And we had Baxter Springs, Kansas. Just because there was no towns near them doing trick-or-treating, so they might as well make a little trip in and see what Caney was all about. Because, I mean, we've talked about this on here before. Caney has, we do it old school. You go door to door, and there's a cotton candy house, and a giant pixie stick house, and a weird soda house, and our house is the funnel cake house, and you can spend all night going door to door and just getting all sorts of great stuff. And our area learned what a great little community we have during that time period. So
yeah, for sure.
That's how we got that. And I'm sure it wasn't just like, oh, let's travel to Caney. We heard about this little town. I'm sure they probably are related to someone in the area that was like, hey, your kids can't go trick-or-treating this year, but Caney's open. Why don't you come down and visit with us, and we'll all go out trick-or-treating together. I'm sure that's probably how that happened.
It's a good time. It's always, I mean, it's always been such a big deal. Our schools actually still have the Halloween parties, and the kids get to bring their costumes to school, and then they all put their costumes on and walk downtown, and then they do a little parade, you know, for all the parents and the grandparents and everybody to come watch them. And it's just it's a whole day. It's a whole experience. So best part of growing up here, I think. And the fact that it's continued is just awesome. So,
yeah, it's a fun time.
It is a
and
fun
I've got the bug. I can't wait for the hot to go away because I want fall. Like, so I've got the itch. I started designing the yard and figuring out our front feature. And because we're not having Paracon in the end of September this year, it has freed up our my husband and I's fall at least a little bit. We're making plans to go do some things that we used to do that we've not had time for lately. Like we love to go do corn mazes and cider mills and, you know, all the
fall stuff.
All the Hallmark movie fall stuff.
I'll tell you what, we were in Kentucky over the weekend for Goblin Con. And it was Monday morning when we went to head home. It was 58 degrees out, and it was so nice. And I'm like, we're going to get back home, and it's going to be awful. And I went to get my granddaughter from school yesterday, and my Jeep said 110 degrees inside of it. And I was just like, yeah, I don't like it. But, yeah, Goblin Con was great. So I know there were some people in the chat from Goblin Con tonight too, which is really cool. Yes. And
that's awesome.
It was awesome. It was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. So if you guys ever get a chance, Hopkinsville puts on Goblin Con. This was their second year, and we were shocked at how big it was, but we live streamed the whole thing and got got tons of interviews of different people. So I'll be working on splitting those up. I know Shaw's working on her end, splitting them up too, that were on her channel. So see if we can get some of those interviews split out to play around
They
with.
have like a full day of like speakers up on a stage or panels and stuff like that. Like
They sure did.
most other cons do. Yeah.
They sure did. Trying to think of who all was there. Tim Swartz was there. Super nice guy. Sin Schrader Hill was there. Marky Foltz was there. And I was super excited because Geraldine Simmons Stith was there, which she is the daughter and granddaughter of the original family that experienced the Kelly Hopkinsville goblins. So she sat down with us and we got like an hour interview with her. I was just like, the whole time I completely dominated it, which worked out because the others weren't very familiar with the original story. So, but yeah, super, super nice. Really, really cordial. Trying to think who else was there. Ron Murphy was there, which he's a big cryptid / fairy guy. So I was super excited. I didn't get to talk to him as much as I wanted to, but I'll definitely told him that we have podcasts. We'd love to have him on. And he was like, hit him up. So we'll be doing that. King Gerhard was there, which we'll see him again in October. Big cryptid guy. There was another big cryptid guy, and his name completely is escaping me right now. But yeah, there was a really good lineup of people, tons of vendors, really good vendors. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
Very cool.
So if you get a chance, go.
Yeah. Come and check us out. We have a busy fall schedule coming up, and it's going to be fun. Let's see here. I think that's it. Are we good to go?
I think we're
Close
good
out
to
a few
go.
minutes early.
Yeah.
All right.
That never happens. Look at us.
Woo!
When you don't play the notebook game, then I guess you
that's
put it
true.
down early.
Yeah. I apologize to everybody at home. I'm exhausted, and like I said, 6 hours straight. I didn't even take a break for lunch. I just painted walls and ceilings. I'm working on murals right now. It's my mural season for schools, and I literally can't focus. I have my glasses on right now so I can see the words on my screen because I can't focus on them enough. So otherwise I'd just have them up because I would just be looking at the screen. I'm not reading anything, but I can't see. So the next show I'm on, I'm not going to be on the next one because Enzo and I are going to be in Utah. Swing by and see us if you're going to be there. The lineup is awesome for it. If you're on the fence, get up and look up the Phenomenon and just see the lineup for all those days. Some amazing speakers, and frankly I think the price for just the general admission tickets is really fair for as many people as you can go see. So go check it out.
There's a ton.
There's a ton.
Have you
plus it's
pre-ordered
beautiful
your
out there.
hitchhiker to bring back?
I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping that Chris can really, hook us up with some good hitchhikers.
Ooh, Be careful.
I figure all I have to do is trip Enzo, and he'll catch the skinwalker, and I'll be safe.
I won't be there. Usually
wrestling in the dirt with a skinwalker.
Usually I'm the only one that you have to worry about outrunning. So, sorry, Enzo.
I wouldn't even bother.
All right.
All right. Come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro. On that note, I'm going to end us out of here. So everybody, once again, take a quick second, like, share, hit the bell, thumbs up, and all that fun jazz. We appreciate you so much, all of our new and old followers. Thank you so much to Enzo the Science Guy for bringing us his full presentation. Like I said, it's a topic that isn't talked about enough. So
very true.
Awesome.
Very true.
Yeah. Anywho, everybody have a fantastic evening. Keep it weird, keep it strange, and remember, it's all connected. Good night.
Good night, everyone.